Final update, AITAH for being disgusted and just saying okay when my fiancé broke up with me. I felt sad and exhausted, realizing that I needed to heal. Story 1. So, I don't know, man. I, 28, had been with my fiancé, Alex, 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and have been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then, he has been working at the university. I have my master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay. So the problem is that Alex broke up with me last Monday. It was literally so surreal and honestly, just weird. For the past few months he'd been acting strange. He was making demands and then dropping them immediately. A few examples. He told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, "For fuck's sake, forget it," and never brought it up again, even when I asked. Another time he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket. I had cramps. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, "Forget it, it's not a big deal." This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did, or maybe he was just stressed at work. He would just say everything was fine, but he was clearly seething with rage. I didn't even have to do anything. He would find something to complain about: the apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So, I gave him space, which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days, and somehow that was also wrong because he wanted to renovate the apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last few months, I had made peace with it. When I came home, he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, "I want to break up." Then the verbal diarrhea started. He told me he resented me. First, because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable, and he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then when I started making more money, since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially, and he hated it. Mind you, I never said anything like, "It's my money, so I have the final say." That's a rule he imposed on himself, and he hated it. He said he hated our paint scheme, the couch, and even our fucking crockpot. Then he told me he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time he got the acceptance letters. Only, he never told me he had even applied overseas. He said a few months ago he checked in with a friend who's in that program, saw how they were thriving, and decided I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and fuck him over. I honestly don't even know what that means. He also said he hated that all his friends loved me and didn't let him vent about me. Then he said again, "I'm done." I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt, but after that rant, I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, "Okay." He lost it. He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible. We had been together for 4 years, and all I had to say was, "Okay," to our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He said, "Typical, of course you're holding the apartment over me," and started ranting again, so I just left. I told my parents, and they're also confused. My dad suggested I reach out to our landlord and explain the situation to see what options I have. I can keep paying the rent no problem myself. He covered the utilities and some subscriptions. Just to reiterate, I never had a problem with this. I saw that he was chasing his dream, and that was more important to me than a 50-50 financial split. I make good money and am happy at my job. I never saw it as slaving away. I always had the mentality that my money was our money, because we were building a life together. Of course I had my own savings and fun money, but I honestly never cared. As long as I felt he was working toward something and wasn't taking advantage of me, I was fine with it. More than fine. Alex is still mad. He's going between texting me like a robot about the logistics of the split to being a seething asshole complaining about everything. I'm not even hurt anymore. I just feel nauseated by him at this point. I don't know. Should I have reacted differently? Edit. Thank you for all your opinions. It was nice to get this off my chest, lol. Just to clarify though, I don't feel like a victim. I feel like something happened, and my relationship just turned bad. He behaved like an asshole, but that is the extent of it. Very clearly, something is going on. But he doesn't want me to be part of whatever it is, and I have to respect that. Now I just have to detangle myself legally from him, and after that, I'll just be left alone with my ugly green wall color. I think I might also adopt a cat as my ex was really allergic. Update 1. To start, Alex moved out pretty quickly after the breakup. He has been staying with a friend and we sorted out everything like mail, subscriptions, and the lease. I'm also in the process of adopting a cat. Her name is Luna, but I have been thinking about changing it since my family already has 2 pets named Luna, Moon, and Kamar. She is still at her foster home for now, but I have visited her a few times, and I already adore her. She is a scrappy little tabby who follows her foster mom around like a shadow, and I can't wait for her to move in during the first week of December. I've already gotten her bowls, toys, and a bed by the window ready. Now, on to what happened. Last week, I was out showing someone around the city. He is the son of my parents' friends who recently moved here for work. My parents asked me to help him get familiar with the area, so I agreed. It was nothing special, just walking around, grabbing coffee, and pointing out useful spots in the city. Apparently Alex saw us. I didn't even realize he was there, but later that night I started getting texts from an unknown number. I guess he got a new number since I blocked his old one. The texts were just weird. He accused me of flaunting my new relationship in public, said I must have been seeing this guy before we broke up, and told me that everything he suspected about me was true. I didn't respond. I wasn't going to entertain his paranoia. The messages kept coming though. They went from angry to desperate, with him saying things like, "At least admit you were lying to me," and, "Was anything about us even real?" It was exhausting and honestly a little scary to see how quickly he spiraled. For the record, this guy isn't my boyfriend. He's not even someone I'm interested in. He's just the son of family friends who needed help settling into the city. The whole thing was completely innocent. But Alex has twisted it into some kind of betrayal in his head. What gets me is how little Alex seems to know me. I'm not the type of person to jump into a relationship so soon after everything that happened. Even if I were, it wouldn't be any of his business. We are done. I've made that clear. After I didn't respond to his texts, Alex started calling. I didn't pick up, but the voicemails were a mix of angry rants and desperate pleas. I ended up blocking his new number too. It feels ridiculous that I have to keep doing this, but I guess this is where we are now. Then this weekend, I went out to a bar with my friends. A few hours in, guess who walked in? Alex. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if he followed me there, but as soon as he spotted me, he came straight over. He was clearly upset, asking to talk, and I told him no. My friend stepped in, and thankfully, he left without causing a scene, but it ruined my night. It felt like I couldn't escape him, no matter where I went or what I did. When I got home later that night, I was completely drained. I had just started to relax when I heard a knock on my door. It was Alex, standing there in tears. He started crying, saying he missed me, that he didn't understand why I was doing this to him, and that he didn't know how to move on. It was like all the anger from earlier had been replaced with this desperate sadness. I didn't let him in. I told him he needed to leave, and if he didn't, I would call someone to make him leave. He begged me to listen, but I just closed the door. I spent the rest of the night feeling shaken, and honestly a little scared. I don't know what he's going through. I wrote his best friend about the situation, but the plea of talking to him. He said he would. I'm seriously considering getting a new phone number and possibly even talking to someone about how to handle this legally if it keeps happening. It feels unfair that I have to go to these lengths, just to have some peace, but I don't see another option. Update 2. Thanks for the concern and support I've received. I'm fine. Really. A lot of people suggested things like getting a restraining order, but I just want to clarify that it's not as simple as walking into an office and asking for one. The process involves proving there's an immediate danger to your safety, providing evidence like texts, calls, or witnesses, and then attending court to get approval. It's not something you can do lightly or without solid proof. And no, I'm obviously not getting a gun. I've also seen people diagnosing Alex with various mental health issues, and I want to ask everyone to stop. Yes, something is clearly wrong, but I'm not a doctor, and neither are most of you. It's not fair or helpful to label him with something like bipolar disorder or anything else without real expertise. For what it's worth, I don't actually feel like I'm in danger. In the past month, these were the only 3 incidents that happened. I don't think he's actively stalking me so much as he just knew my patterns. The bar we were at is my favorite spot, and it was a party of one of my closest friends, so it makes sense that he might have guessed I'd be there. When he showed up at my apartment, he knows what time I usually get home. The city tour is the only thing that might have been more intentional, but it could also have been a coincidence that triggered everything. Anyway, this is the end of it. Yesterday, Alex came over with his mom and one of his friends. At first I didn't want to let him in, but he promised me that this would be the last time I ever saw him. I agreed, mostly because his mom and friend were there, and I figured it would be more awkward to argue on my doorstep. When we sat down, Alex admitted that he was going through a crisis. He told me he was mad at me, but he didn't know why. He said he doesn't like me, that I annoy him, but that he weirdly still loves me, which is why he went crazy when he saw me with someone else. He assured me there wasn't anyone else on his end either. He said he felt like he was going insane. He talked about how he feels judged for being older and not being able to give me the life he thinks I deserve. He said he hates his colleagues, hates his job, hates everything right now, and that everyone and everything annoys him. He told me he feels old, and like he should want kids at this point in his life, but he doesn't, and that thought terrifies him. He said he just wants to be alone and not talk to anyone for a while. I didn't say much. I mostly just nodded because I didn't know what to say. After he was done, he told me he was leaving. He's on some kind of mental health leave from work, and he said he's leaving the country on Sunday. He's going to South America to spend time in nature and find himself. He thanked me for everything and said he was sorry for how he acted. Then he just got up, grabbed the few things he had left at my place, and walked out. His mom was inconsolable. She kept apologizing to me over and over, saying how embarrassed she was by his behavior. I told her it was okay, and that she didn't need to apologize for him. She cried a lot, and his friend ended up driving her home after Alex left. I don't really know how I feel about all of this. Part of me is relieved that it's over. Part of me feels sad for him because he clearly doesn't know how to deal with everything he's feeling. Mostly though, I just feel tired. I'm glad he's taking steps to figure himself out, but it's not my responsibility anymore. Relevant comments. Commenter. Be glad he took accountability and apologized along with realizing he was acting crazy and taking steps to address it and get away from you. That's enough. Feel relieved, feel sad, grieve the loss of him and the relationship, and enjoy the time alone now. It's okay to have mixed feelings about it. It's okay to be happy one day and sad the next. Thank you for the update and take care of yourself. NTA. You went through a really tough time. Take care of yourself and remember that you deserve happiness and peace. NTA. You've endured a lot, and it's important to focus on healing. Take the time you need. You absolutely deserve happiness and peace in your life. Also be annoyed that he thought it was a good idea to barge his way in and announce to you one last time that he doesn't like you and thinks you're annoying. Okay, main character, glad you got that off your chest. He even dragged his mom there for the closure, just so someone would cry. The ick is so strong here. At least mom was there to apologize to OP. The bittersweet symphony of breakups. 1 minute you're crying into your ice cream, and the next you're dancing like no one's watching because you finally have your space back. Here's to mixed feelings and solo dance parties, may they be frequent and fabulous. I'm guessing it was his mom who told him to take accountability or lose financial support. Cheers to him for taking accountability. I guess it's true what they say. Sometimes you have to lose someone to realize how much popcorn you can eat alone during movie night. Just remember, it's okay to feel like you're on an emotional seesaw, up one day, down the next. So he realized he was acting crazy? Well, at least he didn't try to convince you that his pet goldfish was an undercover agent. Take this time to grieve the relationship, while also embracing your newfound freedom. Just don't forget to schedule some me time between those mood swings. Honestly, I was shocked to read this. But in a good way. You don't get to see people own up, and actually try to work on themselves very often, and I'm glad that's how things went, rather than him spiraling further. Thanks for the update and best of luck with anything you go on to do. Agree. It is a relief, he doesn't seem violent, and that he was able to at least take responsibility for his behavior. I do think the jump to some mental health issue is a fair bit presumptuous. To me it really just sounds like he's having a midlife crisis, and it's somewhat exasperating, it really messing with his ego that his younger girlfriend is doing better financially and seems to have it more together than he does. Sorry you had to deal with all of this, but I'm glad you're moving on and that you're safe. Wishing you lots of luck and happiness, and I hope Alex finds what he needs. It was never you. It's just his midlife crisis when he hates everything and tried to blame it on you. But once you left and the feelings remained, then he had no choice but to realize he hates himself. This is the comment I've been looking for. All of his annoyance with and dislike of her is a reflection of how he feels about himself. He's got an antiquated notion of how a relationship should look, and he is jealous and resentful of anyone he perceives as doing better than him. Absent significant amounts of work with a competent therapist, this will not change. These are deep-seated beliefs likely formed in childhood. OP, I wish you all the best. Instead of going to South America to find himself, he should find himself a therapist. Probably going to South America to run away from himself. Either way, it's not OP's problem anymore. NTA. This is such a him problem. You've got the right idea that there's nothing you did wrong, and the best thing is that he's not your responsibility anymore. Sometimes a person can look at their life and just need to walk. For you, it's irreconcilable differences. For him, he needs to figure himself out, and taking himself out of your life is a good thing. Story 2, AITAH for telling my husband that I didn't want to come home after coming back from a health resort with the 2 kids while he didn't do anything. Hi, so I, 27-year-old female, and my husband, 33-year-old male. We are married for 7 years already. We got 2 kids, a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy. He works for 40 hours a week while I work 32 hours a week. He dresses them and brings them to childcare and makes them ready for bed and puts them to sleep. I do the household, cooking, laundry. He helps me from time to time, but only if I ask. He goes with the dog in the morning and I go in the evening. It was always like that, and I never had any issues so far, till I went to a therapeutic center with our 2 kids for 3 full weeks. In the time I was gone, I asked him to do 3 normal chores. Cleaning the toilet, sending a packet back, and cleaning the laundry in our kids' room. He did nothing of that. I flipped and went mad, and he said he did so many things like cleaning out the garden from stones, even though they would be collected in January. So his work wasn't necessary. He told me I should appreciate that he does household stuff, and it's my own fault I went to a therapeutic center I could stay with the kids, and he could have taken care of the kids like always. He told me I suck at communicating because I'm sick of it, telling him what to do. After a few arguments I flipped and basically told him I'd rather not come back home. Because now he went on a work trip and I'm now alone with the kids and need to clean up after the 3 weeks. Now the question AITAH and what should I do after he comes back? Edit. I'm not a native-speaking American and thought that health resort is the term that we use in Germany as Mutterkindkur. I changed that. I went to a therapeutic retreat because of overload with everything. Relevant comments. Commenter. OP, are you in Germany? And was this a Mutterkindkur? Because people are going to see the word resort and be frothing at the mouth. If it is that, you might want to expand on the concept so people can understand that it's not a resort in the sense they're thinking of. It's more like parent rehab for moms who are at the end of their tether. There are a lot of different kinds, but they're usually out in quiet, rural areas. You have individual therapy as well as group therapy and even family therapy. They have childcare for the times you need to do adult stuff, etc. There can also be spa-like things as well to help with stress management. As an example, I had a friend who went to one of these because one of her kids had horrendous allergies as a baby and they couldn't figure out what was going on. He didn't sleep, was covered in rashes all the time, and she had 4 other kids to take care of. This place specialized in children like her son, so they not only figured out what was going on with him, but she got help for the stress she'd been under, not sleeping, taking him back and forth to the hospital and taking care of her other kids. All in a relaxing and controlled environment with lots of professionals around. Even if not German, sounds like what we'd think of as more like a hospital stay, but like a really good hospital, for parents who need extra support for a bit. Not a fun holiday. A mental health service. Where you do therapy. Some words don't translate well, but then again, some people prefer not to look at the actual context. Finally, a place where you can say, I need to check in without it sounding like you're talking about an overdue library book. Agreed, this was mother-baby partial hospitalization, which is mental health treatment for women with PPD or PPA. I'm so sorry OP married a lazy man-child. So it's not quite a vacation. But if I can get pampered while discussing my feelings, I'd call that a pretty good trade-off. Who needs sand when you have soothing words? Exactly. It's not a vacation, but getting some pampering while working on your well-being sounds like a solid trade-off. Who needs a beach when you can have therapy and relaxation to help you recharge and work through things? Sometimes, the best kind of vacation is the one that helps you get back to feeling like yourself. As an American, I'm curious about the rates of PPD here in comparison to Germany's. I'd like to think with support like that over there, it should lower it. NTA. If this was a Mutterkindkur, You might want to clarify that it's more like a therapeutic retreat for overwhelmed parents, not a typical resort. It offers therapy, childcare, and stress relief, designed to help parents recharge and manage tough situations. Oh my God, I had no idea this was a thing. I would have sold my soul for this back in the day when the parenting stress was making me so anxious I was nauseated all the time. It sounds great. People here in the US would be so happy to have this in our country. Sounds like they have everything except a good lawyer. I don't think it actually matters where she was. She asked him to do a couple of basic jobs around the house and he didn't do them. She's right to be annoyed. Oh, I completely agree. It's just I've seen a few comments that were like, "You were at a resort? Who are you to complain then?" Which, if I'm correct in my assumption, then it's a totally different concept and less people are going to be laser focused on that detail and get to the actual issue at hand. But she had the kids with her. So her husband had zero responsibilities since his share involved the kids. She asked him to do a few small things in 3 weeks and he couldn't accomplish that. And one of that was cleaning the toilet. The toilet only he used because they were away. So literally cleaning up after his own shit. Barely too much to ask even if they were away at the most luxurious resort ever. Story 3. AITAH for ruining the holidays due to placing our mom in LTC? So, I, 28-year-old male, have 2 siblings, Theo, 35-year-old male, and Abby, 38-year-old female. Our mother had a stroke back in 2019, and our father passed away in early 2021. I have been taking care of her since. I dropped out of my graduate program to take care of our mom. Since January, things with our mom became more stressful, increased memory issues, lack of sleep, and I was generally burnt out. During this time, my siblings did not offer any assistance. They have families and lives. It fell on me because at the time I was staying with our parents in their apartment in New York since I was going to school in New York. Each year I would fly or drive to Virginia so our mom could see my siblings and her grandkids. I found a place for our mom back in February, and I informed my siblings they had no objection at the time. Now that major holidays are coming around, they have been asking me if I am going to bring mom. I told them no, I was not, but if they wanted to take her, they were 100% free to take her. I told them she is not in prison, and I did put them on the list for approved people to take her out. They told me they could not do that, it would be far too complicated. I told them that it was unfortunate, but I was going on vacation, so I would not be available. Now all of a sudden I have everyone and their mother reaching out to me, telling me how selfish and heartless I am being towards our mother. I pretty much lashed out at Theo, who is hosting this year, and told him off. I told him he had no right to call me selfish. I was the one who stepped up to care for mom after her stroke and our dad passed. I handled the sleepless nights, the wandering, the outbursts, the doctor's appointments. I handled getting her Medicaid. I handled everything, and put my life on hold to do so. They got to see the pleasant side of our mom, and if she had an outburst, I was the one that had to deal with it. Then he said I should have asked for help. He claimed he figured I had it all handled and did not need help. I told him I should not have had to ask. I was 23 when mom had her stroke and 25 when dad passed. You knew I was stressed and was handling everything. I told him he did not even offer to help me set up the arrangements for our dad's funeral. Neither did Abby. He said he could not read minds. I should have asked. So at that moment I said fine, and asked him, "Can you come pick up mom so she can go over for Thanksgiving? I will cover the travel fare." He came up with excuses like, it was short notice. I said fine, what about Christmas? And again came up with an excuse. After that I told him this is why I did not ask, because you fucks will always come up with an excuse to get out of it. I told him that is how you two have always been. Apologize for the borderline rant. I am just pissed at EM. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA, one of my siblings is not the best and just expects people to cover for them. It's tiring and they don't want to be wrong, so you have to end up as the bad guy when you didn't do anything. Good luck, be prepared for some fallout. OP. Yeah, I do love how they are trying to frame it like I did not tell them. Love their selective memory, cause I even asked if they wanted mom closer. One of them would have to look for a place near them since I could not tour a place in Virginia while still actively caring for our mom in New York. Also said if they don't want to look, then one of them would have to watch our mom while I looked. I did ask for help but was brushed off. Not only are you extremely NTA, you're an absolute baller, setting your brother up so he could knock himself down. Of course he's going to revise the story, but you know what happened. Your mom is blessed to have you, and I wish you strength and peace. Write them both one last email, telling them this is you permanently asking them for help, as you will never be able to bring mom down to them. You will never be able to cover the expenses, and you will never be able to coordinate those visits. NTA. It is not your job to manage your siblings. It is definitely not your job to drop everything to take mom to an event others are hosting. Why can't they fucking figure it out? I would turn the script on your brother and remind him that love is shown by actions. Where has his love for mom been? Commenter. NTA. As someone who works in LTC, you did the right thing. We see so much caregiver burnout. We are trained to work with our residents. We are trained to handle outbursts, dementia, etc. And we get relief. We get to change shifts and step away from things. It is incredible to see the change in some of our families once their loved ones are in our care. The amount of relief they feel. They're able to fully just think about themselves again. Your siblings suck. They're the worst kinds of people in my opinion. The type of people who refuse to acknowledge the stress their family member is experiencing. And who demonizes placing a loved one in LTCNTA. Givers have to set limits because takers never do. As long as you keep giving, they'll keep taking. You have a life also. Live it just as they're living their lives. NTA. Good for you for making the tough but good decision of what was best for you and your mom. You're right. She's their mom too. If they wanted to help, they would have done so without you having to ask. They would have been sending you some money to hire a nurse so that you could finish school. They don't get to ignore your mom and neglect you, and now pretend to be offended because they can't play happy family for the holidays. I hope you have an amazing vacation. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to stay updated with our latest ones. Have a great day.